Good morning and welcome to Take 10 for this week. Recently, I preached on the topic of generosity of time, and in the process, I was really challenged about how I use my own time. Apologies to those who heard me preach for this revamped version. Let's just pause for a moment and consider the week that you have just had. Review it in your head. How have you used your time? How much time did you spend working, studying, eating, sleeping? How much time did you spend with those that you love most? How much time did you spend reading, scrolling through social media, playing Candy Crush? However you spent your time this past week, it is gone. It's gone. You cannot recoup it. You cannot go back and reallocate and spend it differently. The Bible uses two words for time. The first is chronos, the other kairos. Chronos, from which we get the word chronological, is linear. It is sequential, measurable. It's about days and weeks and months. Kairos time refers more to an appointed time, an opportune moment. For those who like imagery, you might view Chronos as an ox ploughing a field, his head down, doing his job, backwards and forwards, accomplishing the task at hand. Kairos might be pictured like an eagle, holding on the wind, hovering, watching, waiting for the time to take action. In Matthew chapter 22, Jesus is asked, which is the greatest commandment? He replies, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, and to love others as yourself. Loving God, loving others, loving ourselves is time consuming. And it requires us to make some wise choices about the use of a very finite resource, which once spent can never be recouped. Loving God. Jesus was a very busy man. Other people constantly vied for his attention, and yet one of his main priorities was relationship and intimacy with God the Father. If we want to experience the presence of God, we must be intentional and allow time for his presence to permeate and saturate our lives. It doesn't happen by osmosis. His invitation to us today in the Gospel of Mark is the same as it has always been. Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. Loving ourselves. Spiritual growth and positive well-being come from the inside out. Jesus regularly practiced Sabbath space and Sabbath silence, time for healing and restoration. In his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, John Mark Comer describes our culture today as one in which we are pathologically busy. We live in a world, in a digitally distracted world in which social media, 24-hour news updates, and information at our fingertips have produced a society where compulsive activism and unbounded availability are the norm. When was the last time you intentionally stopped, switched off your phone, and found a place to simply be? To allow yourself, body, soul, and spirit, to be healed and restored. Loving others. Writer William Penn said, "Time is what we most want, but what we use the worst." If we want to be generous with our time, we have to be intentional. But if you're anything like me, all of a sudden you realize that you've been spending life on autopilot. Are people a priority for you? Loving others is a sacrificial act, and being generous with our time sometimes means that we have to give at inconvenient moments, to give an inconvenience to ourselves. In our earthly realm, we have 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. Our time is finite. It stands to reason then that the most precious gift that we can give someone else is our time. Because when you give it, you are given a portion of yourself that you will never get back. Generosity of time is not about how much activity we can cram into our day. Busyness is a false value that has been adopted by our society. In fact, to be truly intentional and generous with our time, we may have to begin by stepping back, stripping back, and re-evaluating. Generosity of time cannot be measured in minutes and hours. It's not just about quantity, it's about quality. Tell me, when you're with others, how truly present are you? Or are you constantly distracted by text messages, phone alerts, or that to-do list playing over and over in your head? The solution to an overly busy life is not more time. If we feel we don't have enough time, something is wrong, and we need to stop, step back, and evaluate what we are doing. Generosity of time is a sacrificial act of love. We must steward our chronos time well in order to remain alert to those kairos moments. How much time do you truly spend loving God, loving yourself, and loving others?